We'll get a message someday.
In the age after the fall of the Orokin, the grand clade families of the Ostrons were cast wide across the solar system, roaming and homeless in their great floating markets. In this time, two young people were in love. The woman, Erfriha, and the man, Mirza. Erfriha was from the Yingbendun clade, meaning great bond, a very old and wealthy compact of bonded families. Mirza, however, had no clade, his family having been shattered by the Grineer many years before. He was Cetus, meaning landless, cladeless, a body turned to dust, turned to motes, on a careless wind. Ephria belonged to families within families. Mirza was alone. But to Efrihar, Mirza was a poet who had eyes to see the beauty of things and ears to hear the softly whispered language of the universe. I know a place, he said, where I may be homeless no more. I have heard a voice, and it leads me there. Come with me. But Elfriha's father was a man made foolish by his wealth, and vociferously disapproved of their love. Mirza was cast adrift from the floating market that was home to his one true love. Erfriha and Mirza ran away together, as lovers do, and were never heard from again. Rent by grief, her family thought her dead. Her father passed away, clutching her cameo, at peace, thinking he would see her soon, in some moonlit afterlife. Decades later, ships entering ancient Earth's orbit were hailed from the planet's poisoned surface by an old woman's voice, gentle and knowing. Traders would call for her, greet her, offer the latest news on their families and lives, but never did they learn anything of this woman, save that she had a husband and they were somehow happy living on the toxic skin of that hostile world. The old woman would always ask those travelers of news of the Yingbin Dunyai clade. Yingbin Dunyai junkers came searching for a sign of their missing daughter. The frail voice of their long-lost child reached out to them, and there was much joy. "You will find us," her message said, "by the light of our love." Efriha bade them make their home around a magnificent Orokin ruin, promising them that it would be a source of prosperity for generations to come. The Yingbin Dunyai arrived in their vast floating market. There, by a ragged coastline, winked a point of light. "Follow the brightness of the love between Mirza and I," said the message, "and be safe from all harm." The wrathful Grineer took umbrage at this, and sought to block their passage, but upon approaching that ancient Orokin tower, found their transmissions silenced, their engines turned cold, and their weapons reduced to lumps of dead iron. She was a being of the day, her husband a spirit of the night. Erfriha was a woman of the land, Mirza a man of the sea. Mirza understood the crushing weight of time in which air existed. In return, air gifted pieces of its ancient self to Mirza, old things shaped to near shapelessness by 1,000 years beneath the waves. Mirza was a man dedicated to finding the sacred in the forgotten, the neglected, and took wisdom from them. After many decades, Mirza had a small collection of such gifts, such that they could be held in two cupped hands. But in them he understood the lifespan of a world, and so he had struck an accord with the creatures of the sea. For her part, in her times alone, Elfriha came to know the birds and animals of the plains, and likewise struck an accord with them. Even the tortured Eidolons, creatures of this world and the next, left them in peace, and made the lands around the tower safe for the Ostrons. At the center of this place was the tower, and within the tower was the Unum, the voice, the force that had called Mirza and Elfriha there so many years ago for this exact purpose. But the Unum is a being for another time, and another story. The Ostrons named their village Carifomil, family and prosperity. Elfriha was overjoyed to see her clade again, but Mirza would not enter Carifomil, for he had no family save Elfriha. Elfriha was drawn to her clade, and Mirza felt no resentment. She would one day return to them. Mirza had known it would be so. Mirza took the things the sea had gifted him over his long life and took to his boat and sailed out across his midnight ocean. He returned those gifts to the deep and himself to them too. But this was no death into which Mirza stepped, for a world is made of cycles upon cycles. Mirza stepped into his midnight ocean, falling down into it. And the deeper he sank, the larger he became. This is how the oceans of came to be the home of the 1,000-year fish, legendary, vast, reclusive, the rare sight of which changes men. One of the great ancient spirits of The spirits of the land felt Elfriha's sadness